Okay, so we're live here doing some live coding with OpenAI, and we have the author of the O'Reilly book on GPT-3. And one of the things that we're going to talk about is we're going to dive into the essentially what you can do with OpenAI. And we have, in fact, a quick start menu here that talks about some of the things that you can do, including content generation, summarization, classification, categorization, sentiment analysis, data extraction. So when you first start with OpenAI, this is the place to really begin with is to look at the documentation, try out some ideas, and in fact, if you go to the examples page, there's a lot of examples that are really helpful. Like this is what I typically do is I'll go through and I'll look at the Q&A, or I'll look at the text to command, or the Python generation code, and it even tells you the actual Python code that you would write. And then I copy that code and then I put it into a script. And so um, uh, in fact, one of the examples that you're going to show is that you went even further, and not only did you build a question answer bot, but you build one that has a web interface to it. And so do you want to maybe introduce yourself a little bit and then talk about what you're going to show?
Yep, totally. Hey everyone, my name is Shubham, and I've recently co-authored a book on OpenAI GPT-3. So the book talks about the nuances of the API, what all you can do with OpenAI API. As you can already see, we have all this elaborative list of examples, but I'll tell you, like, this is just the tip of iceberg. Like, you can do a lot with OpenAI API. So book covers how you can use the API in the best possible way. And the code that goes behind, or the input that goes to the API, is what we call prompt. It's a text input that goes to API. And the book covers what are the best ways to go about prompt engineering, how to create the best prompts for different applications, for different use cases. Then it dives deeper into how you can use OpenAI API with different programming languages. So whatever you are comfortable with. If you are comfortable in Java, you can use it in Java, Go, Python, you name it. And we have the code to use that in the language of your choice. And towards the end chapters, the book talks about the business use cases of OpenAI API, like what are the businesses, startups that has built on top of the API in the last 1 or 2 years, how they have successfully raised funds and doing some extraordinary things in their specific domain. So it covers those startups in the form of case studies, elaborative case studies that we have talked and understood based on their journey, based on their learnings. So there's some advice for you as well if you're looking to start business on top of this API. Then we go ahead and talk about the corporates who are leveraging OpenAI API, which includes some revolutionary products like GitHub Copilot, which Noah is also going to show you in some time as well. So it also mentions the journey of Copilot, Azure AI Service, Algolia Cert, and all these things. And towards the end, we mix and match this two very interesting concepts of large language models, which is basically GPT-3 like models and no code. So we went ahead and talked to the founder of Bubble and discussed this possibility of how we can combine no code with large language models and make it really, really easy for anybody and everybody to build state of the art, cutting edge applications. And today we are going to see how, with low code, you can build applications on top of OpenAI API. And as Noah mentioned, like we are going to look at the question answering use case. So here you can already get this code, the starter code in Python. You can just put it in a script or in a Python script, run it, and whoa, you get your question answering bot up and running. You can ask these questions to the OpenAI API, and without any training, you can get the answers. So this is something that we are gonna see today, but not we won't just limit ourselves here. We are gonna go and build a full-fledged web application that you can further take it and post it over the internet and share it with your friends. And maybe if you want to show an MVP to a client, you can quickly do that. And all of it is gonna take less than 15 minutes. Yeah, that's the power of OpenAI API. And to build this front-end application on top of this backend code, we'll use Streamlit. So Streamlit is a framework that lets you build data applications all in Python. If you want to build front end but have no understanding of frameworks like CSS, HTML, JavaScript, don't worry. Like Streamlit lets you build everything in Python. Now we are going to quickly see how. So let's quickly jump to code. So here is the code for our question answering application. For starters, I have kept it really simple. So what you have to do first is import Streamlit and then import OpenAI. So this is the package that we have to import, and you can install it very simply with pip install Streamlit. So import Streamlit, import OpenAI, then we put a sidebar on our application where we get the API key. So you don't even have to provide the API key here, and you can keep it as a secret. So instead of statically providing the API key, you can keep it dynamic for security reasons to keep it more secure. And anybody who uses the application can come up with their own API key. And this is an upgrade from what you see on the command line that Noah has discussed in the last session. So he has discussed how you can build a command line interface question answering bot. On top of OpenAI, there we have to provide the static API key. Now here you can get the dynamic API key. Like anybody who uses your application can come up with their own API key, put it in the box, and play with your application. So then we go and put the title, which is AI question answering bot. So your application will show this title on the top, like what your application is about. You can put a little bit about there. You can write a little bit about what your application will do, an intelligent question answering bot that will answer all your questions in zero shot based on the context that it has taken from the internet. Then we go ahead and create a simple text input, text box. So one cool thing that you see here, one interesting fact about Streamlit is how simple the syntax is. It is very intuitive, all in Python. So title, simply adds a title to it. Then you write something below it. Then you need a text box, so you create a simple function with text input. So it will create a text box and prompt you to input your question, whatever question you have, you can ask the OpenAI API. Then here, yeah, so this is something special that comes out of the box with Streamlit. So it lets you cache your results out of the box. So you just have to add this decorator function. And whenever you hit this function, so if somebody asks the same question again, it doesn't hit the API, it doesn't use this function, it will pull it directly from the cache. So it won't always hit the API and will save you a lot of latency, bandwidth, and time. And this is the function that we saw last time as well. This is basically the code that you can get from OpenAI API, OpenAI Playground itself. Like we saw in these examples, if you click on QA examples, you can just copy this code from here and put it in your script. So you don't have to think too much about it here as well. Also, one thing that we do here, that we have to do here is set the API key. So that we are setting internally, whatever API key you get from here, you can set it as OpenAI API key. So yeah, we are pretty much done with the logic of our application. Yeah, in less than 5 minutes.
So it's like basically like maybe 10 lines of code.
Yes, basically like 10 lines of code.
Yeah.
And that too, you're getting the main logic from OpenAI itself. Like if you think about it, you basically didn't do anything, right? It's very basic. Like you just write the title that you want, you write a little bit info, and it's all very intuitive. I would say like in 10 lines of code, you can create your own AI chatbot, which wasn't even possible before. Like thinking about it wouldn't be possible before.
Yeah.
So here, what you do is,
I think what I've noticed about using tools that use OpenAI is that what I suspect is that most people are not aware of how powerful it really is, and I think that we're about to in the next year or two have a revolutionary change for society where these things will enable us to do things that are shocking. Like, I mean, yeah, I think
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you there, Noha. I mean, the use cases are just gonna explode. So as more and more people from different backgrounds come into this mainstream AI and start building stuff, right? Previously, all of them had some kind of AI ideas that they wanted to do with AI, but they didn't have the right means or the technology or even the AI that was accessible. But with this, what we are showing right here, like literally anybody and everybody can do it. And as people are gonna come inside this mainstream AI ecosystem, the use cases are gonna explode. It would be kind of revolution, like much bigger than internet, much bigger than AI revolution. I would like to even call it an accessible AI revolution. And these are also some things that we have seen in the book, right? All the founders of these successful startups that you see does not come from tech background. Some comes from design, some comes from art, some comes from commerce. So it's like a pattern, right? That you don't need to have any specific or technical or scientific background to implement this stuff. Like you just need to have that building attitude, that idea, that dedication, and most of the resources are at your disposal. And it's really easy to use. So let's continue with where we left. So you get this function from OpenAI itself. It's the main logic that is responsible for generating the answers. Let's quickly go through what all things that we have. So prompt, as I mentioned in the start, like prompt is something that goes as input to the OpenAI API. I think Noah has already covered these parameters in the last stream, but I'll quickly go through it. Temperature is the dial that controls the randomness of your response. Zero is something that you want a specific response. You can raise this dial all the way to 1, and then you can have like creative random response. So you're just using that knob to fluctuate the creativity or just to control the creativity. Max tokens is the number of words, a number of tokens that you want in your response, and a token consists of 4 characters approximately. And top p can be interchangeably used with temperature. So you are either control temperature or you either set top p. So top p, it's generally advisable to keep it at 1. Frequency penalty lets you penalize the words if they're already present, penalize the frequency of words. So if the is coming multiple times in a sentence, it will penalize that. So again, it goes from 0 to 1. And presence penalty penalizes the presence of certain words. So if certain words are already present, it will penalize that if you increase the value from 0 to 1. Then you have this choice to select the model. So right now we have these 4 variants. DaVinci 002 being the most capable and the most recently trained model. And then you can go all the way from DaVinci to Curie, Babbage, and Ada, depending on the task. And OpenAI has a really good documentation for you to understand which model to use when. And if you want to go into further details, we have put everything in a very elaborative fashion in the book, along with the use cases that you should go with all these models, like which model to use for which use case. So we end up with this function, very simple function, does nothing, just hits the API and gets the response. We strip any new line that we get, any white spaces that we get. And then again, Streamlit provides us with this really cool logic. So what you're doing is just putting a if condition. So if something happens, then executes these lines. And it allows you to create a button, a submit button on that if statement. So if you click that submit button, and then all of these things will happen. So if with that submit button that Streamlit provides us with, you click that and that you get inside this. So again, this is a with statement along goes with the Python syntax. So when you click on submit button, it hits this function, calls this function, submit question, and submits your question, and performs all this logic. At the end, you will get the result, which will be shown in the markdown. So let's quickly see how our application looks like. I've already spin that up, and it's running here. So this is our application. AI question answering bot. This is the title that you see here. Is something that we have written. A very simple and beautiful text box. And here, you to start with, you can just put your API key here. Again, I'll quickly show you how to get the API keys. You can get it from View API Keys from the OpenAI dashboard. And again, this will be a really cool feature to keep your API key private and secure, so nobody else can see it. So I can even put it in a live stream. So this is my API key. I press enter. It automatically gets applied. Now I can ask any question to question answering bot. Noah, do you have any question that you want to answer to ask the Sky bot?
Yeah, how about which sport is the best to be healthy?
Which sport is the best to be healthy? Okay, let's see what we get. So what do you think of this answer, Noah?
So it says there's no definitive answer. Some people believe the sport can be beneficial, while others think they're better. It's up to the individual to decide which sport is
Very
best for them.
philosophical.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
philosophical.
Maybe you could. So then we could ask it another question and say, maybe, what is a good sport for an elderly person to maintain their health?
Interesting. Maintain their health.
I bet it's going to say walking or swimming.
Swimming.
Yeah. Really.
Yes. Yes. Makes sense. Walking, I don't think so. It would consider into sport.
Oh yeah.
Swimming can. Yeah.
Yeah. And does the what is, do we have any background on the corpus of data they use to train this?
Yes. So, in a very layman terms, if I have to explain, you can consider it to be the most of the internet. But if I have to go into the details of this would be Wikipedia, some book corpuses is the data set that they have used. And for further details, like we have specified details of all the things that they have used to train this model in the book. So you can check that out. And also the interesting part about GPT-3 is that it isn't just trained in English language. It can work across languages. So it has training data from Spanish, from French, from German, some Chinese, Hindi as well. So that's something very interesting and eye-opening that I found while researching about my book. So it's not just trained. It doesn't just work in English. You can make it work in multiple languages. That's also something very interesting. Do you want to try? Do you want to try one more, maybe last question with this?
Yeah. How about will AI always be helpful to humans?
Interesting. To humans. Let's see. I'm thinking it's gonna come up with another philosophical answer.
Yeah. So
this is a difficult question to answer.
So basically, it could go either way.
Yeah. So
and
if you see
go ahead.
Yeah, if you see the interesting thing about the way that this AI bot or GPT-3 answers these questions, it is very similar to how a human would answer. So you won't at any time feel that these are some hard-coded answers. Like you just change a little bit of wordings here and there, the context changes, and so is the answer. So it is very similar to how humans converse or how we talk or how we answer or tackle these questions. So in like in my opinion, like it is trying really hard to mimic how a human brain processes information and then output things. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think well, and what I was going to show maybe next could follow up on that a little bit. If I change my screen real quick, and I'll swap out your
Sure.
screen, so I'll go here.
Sure.
So what I was going to show you really quick was something I built last night and I have a diagram that shows that I was working in CodeSpace. And what is interesting is that there's a feedback loop inside of CodeSpace where it's using the Copilot, and Copilot
Wow,
is basically OpenAI, right? Like, right? Copilot is using the OpenAI system,
that's correct.
and what I was doing was I was actually having it help me write code in Python to talk to AWS. And so I had it basically writing AWS code for me. And so what did I build? Well, so I built something that can communicate with the AWS cloud. And what it does is it looks at the S3 storage and it finds MP4 files that are like previous videos that I've done, that I put on O'Reilly or podcast or whatever. And then I told the code to transcribe it. So basically to convert the video into text. Then I download the text back to CodeSpace, and then what I did was I used the OpenAI again to summarize the text. And so it's interesting because essentially I have OpenAI helping me write code to eventually have it write code to solve a problem. So I can show you basically what I built was and literally I built this just yesterday afternoon. So what I was doing was I went in and I went into CodeSpace, and one of the things that you can do with Copilot, I don't know if you had known this, but basically you
Hmm.
can just create a prompt like this. You can
Yep.
just say like write a function that transcribes all of the MP4 files in a bucket, and then
And one more interesting thing, I'm not sure if you've observed this. Even while writing this description, it even shows a suggestion for that description. Like
yeah,
it's one thing that you know what you want, but
yeah,
even it follows up on your ideas or your thoughts. So it's at the same time, it is not generating the code only, it's also generating the description as well. So basically using GPT-3 to just
to
follow up,
prompt
like
it, yeah,
completing the next word.
exactly, yeah. So
That's something very, very interesting.
it is, and look, and then it'll basically so there's constant feedback, right, where it's going through, since I already had it, um uh or you could say like write a function that lists the buckets in S3, right, and you can see there you go, it'll just it writes the code for me. Like
Yeah.
I don't even need to
Yeah.
do this. So I had it help me write this, and so as I went through, I also wrote a summarization function at the very end, and I go through here and I take the transcription from the file that I transcribed, and then I have it basically build out a uh, a completion. So basically, it's the TLDR. So basically, does a one sentence. So it takes something that's huge, full of text, and just summarizes it down to one. So if I go to the very bottom here, the other thing that I did was I also tell it to write command line tools for me. So I would also do stuff like this. I would say like, you know, like write a click a click and that takes a bucket. I like basically had it also help me write a command line
Yeah.
tool. And so then I went through here, and you can see what it did is it went through, and I could say transcribe here, which is AWS transcriber, and I do help. It also helped me build the
Mhm.
help tree, and I build subcommands all again with the tool.
Very
And
interesting.
then
Very interesting.
I basically I can just say list all the transcription jobs. So I can do this, list job, right? Okay, there we go. So this is the video that I want to summarize. This is a real video that I created a while back. So then I just go through here and I just say transcribe or get the results. So get the results of a transcription job, because I already transcribed it earlier. So we'll just say this, and I just say dash dash help. I look at the menu and job name. So it just says job name, and it helped me build all these. So that's the job name. There you go. So it transcribed it, and now if I go back here, I just say summarize, and that calls OpenAI. So now I just go through here and I say summarize, and I put the job ID again. Here we go. It goes through, grabs the transcription, and there we go. It's summarized the entire video into one line. DynamoDB.
Yeah, this is
Crazy, huh?
so sounds like you have written the entire code without actually writing like even 5 lines of code. Like you've just written the instructions.
Exactly. Because I've been
complete.
using AWS since close to 20 years, maybe not exactly 20, but so I have deep expertise with AWS, and I also have deep expertise with Python. So I can basically, I'm like the manager of the team, and I just say like, hey, yeah, just build this, build this, build this, build this, and I know what it's going to do, because I mean I could write the code myself,
Exactly.
but why would I write the code if I can just have it build it for me?
Yeah.
So I think this is
So
the other.
basically, like, yeah, basically, like what I understood from like watching you do all of these, and even with Copilot in general, like if I have to abstract the summary of what it does and what it means to be the new developer or the developer in this new AI world, is to have an understanding of how of the logical building blocks and how you can arrange it, rather than understanding the syntax, remembering the syntax, and then writing it up. You need to have this logical understanding of every building block and how it goes in the pipeline. So if you know what each building block does and how it orchestrates in a pipeline, your work is done. You can like get your work done.
Yeah.
That might have took hours in like 10 minutes, I guess.
Yeah,
Just correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah.
I agree with you. So basically, this is why I was saying that this is revolutionary, is that I think many people don't understand how big of a deal this is, because if you understand the concepts, like you said, then in a way you're 10 times more efficient. I mean, I can probably, I mean, I wrote almost 400 lines of code in probably 3 or 4 hours, which in Python, if you're writing real, and this is high quality code, it's not bad code. It's very high quality code that maybe you can do 100 a day, right? Like if you're a Python programmer. So just in a few hours, I did several hundred. So if I was working as a contractor somewhere, or I was working a part of a team, I might all of a sudden just be like running circles around everybody. They're like, "Who is this guy? What's he doing? Like, how can he write so much code?" Because the AI is writing it for me.
You could be like super developer in a day. Like you could out of the blue become a super developer. And
You
on your
can.
point of writing high quality high quality code, I just want to add, right, as like since the time I started using Copilot, my coding skills have automatically gone up. So now I'm writing code with like proper function names, proper doc strings, proper comments. It is all happening out of the box. So suddenly, like from me figuring out what should I name this function and what are the comments to write. So like writing code is one thing, and then figuring out comments, doc strings, function name. It takes it's a pain in itself, right? But now Copilot is doing it automatically for me out of the box. In all of my code is like properly commented. Every function has a doc string attached, and when you submit it for review, when somebody reviews it, it looks very professional. It is again, who's that guy who's writing every function with a doc string or every function with the proper comments? So yeah, Copilot has like really took the game like to a next level. Like without you doing anything, it is automatically generating. Like I think it is trained to generate that kind of production grade or high quality code, even if you are writing it for a prototype.
And we could even, yeah, and like I could even show you real quick if I just made um one more AWS tool. How about we build a I don't know, maybe something that can that that can let's build, we could build an S3 tool real quick. So if I just did this, I said touch, S3 S3 tool like this, and I just click on it. The way it works is you could just go through here and you could say, build a uh, or first. I think it's good to give it a prompt. So import Boto 3,
Mm-hmm.
and then you say like build a function that lists all of the um, empty buckets AWS account, right?
Yep.
Then there we go, list empty buckets, and then it should, there we go, build like a
Yep.
so like this would take me a while to like look at all the documentation and be like,
Yeah, exactly. Especially with AWS functions, like with the limited experience that I had, like I always had to go through the documentation, figure out like what's the syntax that would go next, because it isn't that straightforward. Like however good AWS has become in last few years, but still, like you have to write all this code, right? You need to know all these syntax, and you have to go through and check the document. It would easily take like 15-20 minutes to just come up with this function, like this entire logic.
yeah, exactly. And look, and it gave, you're right, it gave the doc string like this. So now I can
Yeah,
do like,
exactly.
it made it look clean. And then I also can, I use another tool. I'll do this. I'll also do, I have the Python Black tool. So then it formats it constantly. So I'm using like tools with other tools at the same time. And then I could say, okay, let's now make this into a command line tool. And so we'll just import click here, and we can say like build a click application that lists all the empty buckets. And you're like you said, it prompts you. We go through here,
Yeah,
empty.
yeah, and yeah, and maybe we can make it very like more sophisticated. We can have a function to delete the empty buckets, and then maybe
Yeah,
with click we can also put a cron job on that, so it automatically like scans your AWS S3 in every 12 hours and cleans the empty bucket, like shows you the empty buckets and then cleans it. So it just automatically in itself, like in 5 minutes we end up with a very sophisticated script that like does every job automatically, like an automated script to clean the empty buckets from AWS in five
exactly.
minutes.
Look, there we go. So I run, and I lint it. It's all I do. When I do a lint of the tool, let's just, I don't know why that's taking us a second, but if I do a lint of the tool, the lint works out fine. And then
Mhm.
it shows me the documentation. And I could even look, this is one thing I discovered that's pretty cool, is if you do this, you say example, look, it'll even write the prompt for you. So then when I do help, look, it builds the help menu for me. So it, like
That
literally
is
everything I would ever do, it just built it for me. And and then we can use it, right? We can just say
really cool.
it will go through and it'll find all of it. Takes a little bit of time because it's crawling through all of my AWS account and finding buckets that are empty, and then it's going to list all the buckets. I mean, the especially for cloud computing. Look, there we go. There's all my empty buckets. And you're right. I could then go up here and I could build
Yeah,
all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, just like I think if you have real deep understanding of a system, I almost can't sleep because I want to write so much code. Like it's like I have too much code I want to write. I'll show you one last thing that you might like as well. So if we go here and I go
uh-huh.
to GitHub. So this is the AWS stuff I've been building, but I also
Uh-huh.
have been building some algorithms, like more computer science stuff. And if I go
Okay.
to heuristics here, I also, because I've written the some of these like traveling salesman solutions myself in the past. And so I
Uh-huh.
figured, well, let's see what it can do. It can do a very good job. at writing advanced Python code, not just like,
Oh.
oh, let me just like algorithms and like and so yeah, check this out real quick. So one of the things
Mm-hmm.
that I had to do was I said, look, I want to write real traveling salesman problem, not like the fake one, which is a fake city. I want to get real cities. And so what I did was I asked it to pull cities from a list. And so here we go. Here's a
Mm-hmm.
list of cities, and then I had to write some code to create a data frame that has the cities, the latitude, the longitude, and then I said basically build traveling salesman solution that randomizes the start and then uses a greedy algorithm to minimize, and I run at the very bottom multiple simulations of it. All of this was written from
Very interesting.
right. So I even had like something that would be very sophisticated, even like a programming interview. That no, I had to change a couple things because and because I've written travel and salesman problems myself, I was able to fix it. Like for example, in here it didn't get this right. Like it didn't get the shuffling right. So if you were a
Mm-hmm.
newbie and you didn't understand what was happening, you may not be able to fix it. But then all I did was I just imported from random import shuffle the list to get it to fix. But one of the things I think that's a good fix is to make sure that you're always linting your code
Yeah.
so that even if the AI is not perfect, it can show you the parts that you can fix. And so I think linting and formatting with this is just shocking. So if you want to see the tool here, we run this. I said Python at cities, it'll go through, shove that list of cities that were found here, which are real cities,
Mm-hmm.
using the GeoPy library, which I have actually never used before. And look, there we go. It minimized for the shortest distance.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's a lot of amazing things you can do in terms of code generation as well.
This this also strikes a very important question in my mind. Like, just let me know what do you think about it. Like, how it is gonna affect the entire Copilot scene is gonna affect programming interviews in general. Like, which has hardcore focused on coding, which are hardcore focused on data structures, algorithm design, and just coding in general, right? Because there people used to do pair programming interviews, and then they're like, you code in front of us. But then if you have Copilot, all you need to know or all you need to do is just give an instruction. And this
I
is not
think,
something that is in
yeah,
beta or prototyping. Like they can
I think you're
literally
right. I mean,
use it in real world. Yeah.
I think it's going to be less important. I never thought it was that important to ask people these things because it didn't really make sense, and a lot of the things you're not even doing while you're in the job. So I mean, I think it could change things. I mean, and we could even try like I don't know, like red black. This is the classic one, right? Everyone wants to
Yeah.
red black trees, right? So we could go here, and we could say, you know, build a red black tree. There we go. And def. Okay, maybe it doesn't know how to build that. I don't.
Maybe no, I think maybe we need to improve the prompt a little bit.
Oh,
Maybe just
like
yeah.
uh
And
build
maybe just a little bit of detail, like add like make it elaborate a little bit.
a data
Yeah.
structure that
Yeah.
that can be used as a red black tree.
I think yeah now it picks up.
Data structure is a list
Mm.
of lists. Each list is another list. Each node, a code. Oh, so now it's even helping us.
To understand like what a red black tree is.
Is always black, but sometimes it gets stuck. I've noticed that.
Yeah, this might be the bug
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Copilot.
Like we can stop maybe right here, or the node is always this, and then we
Maybe
can just
try giving some functions. Yeah, something like that.
and then we could, yeah. So it's not perfect. There can be some
Yeah, definitely.
there can be some inserts node, or like, yeah, I don't think it's going to get every possible scenario, but I did have it even ask what I know one is another greedy algorithm. I'm into greedy algorithms is uh
Mhm.
coin, right? So if I just mv this to coin, yeah, coin right here, and we could just do this. You could say, build a greedy coin changer that returns the minimum number of coins, and the coins themselves as a dictionary with coin type. There you go, something like this. And then I think there we go. Look, and uh,
Yeah.
this is a fairly sophisticated algorithm.
And one thing I think you need to be careful about, which I observed now and multiple times before as well. So a lot of times Copilot also prompts you with a lot of unnecessary things as well. So you need to know what you want. Like
Ah,
here when you're typing, like it was prompting you with a list, with this, with that, but you
yeah,
knew what you want. So then you can follow the trail. You cannot just blindly go in and follow
y-
the trail.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's also something to keep in mind.
You're right. Like we're build. So what you can do, you could do this. You could build to. So first you can do this. You can get the minimum, uh, and this looks reasonable. So you could start with one
Yeah.
thing, and then you can always tweak it. Right now, I don't know why. Oh, I need to invoke it. So right there we go. So then you could say change Jode,
Yeah.
like, and then you can just keep. You can say like, okay, now I want to change it to, like,
That's a
include
good
the
strategy.
coins. Yeah,
Yeah. Iteratively building on the basic algorithm.
yeah. But I think you maybe this would be a good time to hold up your book and let people know
Yep.
that it's a good place to read more about all this.
Yeah. So this is my GB3 book by Orally, and you can get it anywhere on the online stores. You can get it on Amazon, Walmart, Target. You can even read it on the Orally platform. And if you're interested in hardcover, if you're like sucker like me for the hardcover, for the printed version of book, you can definitely get it anywhere delivered across the world globally. And just to remind, like what this book has everything that you need to get started for GPT-3, and not just GPT-3. Think of it as your entry to the world of LLMs or cutting edge AI, and it is useful for anyone and everyone, irrespective of your background. So you don't need to be a machine learning engineer. You don't need to be a data scientist to read this book. It is written in a language. Maybe Noah can confirm and vouch for it. He has also read this book. It is written in a language that can be easily understood by anyone and everyone, uh, with some basic knowledge. You don't need too much to go through this book. And the idea behind this book is to get you started thinking not just how you can build your application, but also how to take it to production, how to build a business on top of it.
Yeah, I think that's a great concept. I put a link to the book in the live stream so people can click a link on it, and then I think as well, how can people get a hold of you? What's a LinkedIn or website?
Yep, I am pretty active on LinkedIn and Twitter. Do hit me up if you have any questions, and do follow me on Twitter if you want to learn more about this subject. I keep tweeting different threads regularly about GB3, NLP, language models in general.
Great. Yeah. Well, I learned a lot every time I talked to you. I learned a lot, and
Same here.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Great talking to you, and we'll I'm sure talk again.
Yeah, definitely. It was real fun. Great talking to you.
Okay.